Tonight on To The Point, as hundreds of housing projects sit unfinished.
The bankruptcy case for a Fair Oaks-based tiny homes company is still ongoing. An update on the case and a message from one of the former owners.
Will this help people get their money back? Plus, unions suing the Trump administration after a bargaining agreement ended for TSA employees.
Leave us to our jobs.
Why there's concerns about worker safety. Town hall backlash. Some of Congressman Kevin Kiley's constituents frustrated after being shut out from entering his teletown hall. And as trade tensions rise, new impacts to the U.S. economy. Why those in neighboring countries are canceling their trips.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and we start tonight with continuing coverage of a story that you first heard right here on ABC 10. Fair Oaks-based company Anchored Tiny Homes has faced criticism spanning across Northern California after customers say they paid the company millions to build them ADUs, only to be left with nothing in return. Last year, the company filed for bankruptcy, and today, ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen is bringing us an update on the cause and on the case and what these former customers are hoping for as their cases continue.
Today is the start of justice, right?
In her homemade t-shirt,
Make Paula's pay.
Laura Sanzuki and a dozen people gathered in front of the federal courthouse in downtown Sacramento on Tuesday to demand justice from the Paulus family.
All I was left with was like a pile of dirt. And they have $40,000 of my money.
In 2024, Anchored Tiny Homes went out of business, and the CEO and COO, Colton and Austin Paulus, filed for bankruptcy. The Fair Oaks-based company made a name for itself by building ADUs. Zanzuki has filed her own case against the Pauluses as well as Steve Sanza in an effort to get back their money.
We're hoping the bankruptcy is dismissed so they can face accountability for their actions.
Both Sanza's and Sanzuki's cases against the Pauluses are a part of the ongoing bankruptcy case. No cameras were allowed in court, but both Austin and Colton appeared by phone, with Austin's attorney present in the courtroom. A judge addressed the courtroom with a dozen of former customers that recovery of some funds are possible, but it's going to be up to the trustees to distribute.
Where's the money? And, you know, we deserve to get some of our money back, or insurance claims, or whatever it is, to get some of our money back.
Both Austin and Colton spoke during the hearing only to acknowledge the judge and did not add anything further, leaving Sanza to hope the Pauluses feel some sort of guilt.
I hope he really truly feels that way. And I hope they do. I mean, at least some of the family try and do the right thing. I hope they all do.
But Sanzuki finds it hard to believe any of the Pauluses are truly remorseful for how their business ended.
You might feel bad, you might have some eternal remorse, but you're not taking action forward to demonstrate that, and therefore your life will not move forward, and we will be out here in full force.
In Sacramento, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
We asked Austin Paulus's attorney for an official statement or comment on behalf of his client to address the number of people that have been impacted by the closure of the business. His attorney says that he's been instructed not to comment. And right now on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app, you can hear from more homeowners and also learn about the timeline of Anchored Tiny Homes closure. The ABC 10 Plus streaming app is free to download straight to your TV. Turning now to the Trump administration's first 100 days in office. New tonight, a federal judge has ruled that dismantling of USAID by the Trump administration likely violated the Constitution. The judge issued a block on the Department of Government Efficiency from further cuts to the agency. And it comes after the administration in February placed all but a fraction of USAID's worldwide staff on leave and notified at least 1,600 of its U.S.-based staffers they were being fired. The judge has ordered the Trump administration to restore email and computer access to all employees of USAID, including those who were placed on administrative leave. Several unions have filed a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security following an announcement to end collective bargaining agreements with thousands of TSA employees. Today, TSA officers with AFGE Local 1230 union held a press conference to address the decision. They say it's led to a decline in morale among officers and threatens workplace protections that ensure fair pay and safe working conditions.
We believe that our contracts and our negotiations with the agency have made it a better agency, a better place to work, and more efficient and more effective. The current administration does not believe that. They think that we cause inefficiencies. We think that that's nonsense, and we want to continue doing everything we can to help to support our people in doing their jobs of protecting the traveling public.
Homeland Security officials have criticized the union, saying poor performers were being allowed to stay on the job, and the agreement was hindering the ability of the organization to, quote, safeguard our transportation systems and keep Americans safe. The union's lawsuit is awaiting a judge's decision. Tonight, Attorney General Rob Bonta is warning about new reports of people impersonating immigration and custom enforcement officers. Bonta's office says that scammers are looking to capitalize on fear and uncertainty stemming from the Trump administration's immigration policies. So here are some of the ways that you can protect yourself. Make sure you ask for identification. Immigration authorities should carry badges and credentials. Don't give any personal information or money to anyone claiming there is a problem with your immigration matter. Don't sign anything unless you understand exactly what it is. And of course, beware of .com or .net websites. Some California business leaders may have a new way to contact Governor Gavin Newsom. The governor sent phones to nearly 100 CEOs of California-based companies. It's not clear exactly who the phones were sent to. His office says it's part of the governor's commitment to supporting California's business community. As for who's paying for it, the governor's office says the California Protocol Foundation covered the costs. For weeks, constituents of local Congressman Kevin Kiley have been calling on him to hold a town hall meeting. Kiley hosted a virtual town hall just last night, but as many constituents tell ABC 10, they were shut out when they tried to dial in. ABC 10's Luke Cleary has the story for us tonight.
California's District 3 is one of the state's largest congressional districts by square mileage.
I know a lot of people tried to call in. I tried about 6 times.
Phil Loring, an environmental scientist from Grass Valley, was one of the unknown number of constituents on Monday who struggled to connect to a virtual town hall meeting with Congressman Kevin Kiley.
You enter the PIN and you get a message that says, "We're sorry, we've reached the limits of the call. Goodbye." And it just kind of hangs up on you unceremoniously.
He eventually got in. About 25,000 people did, according to Kiley's office, which acknowledged in a statement that, quote, regrettably, a small number of people using one method for joining the event were unable to connect because of a technical issue. The spokesman said the issue would be resolved in time for the next town hall.
Conflict of interest!
But it comes as fiery scenes like this one have overtaken in-person town halls with House Republicans concerning cuts to the federal workforce and Elon Musk's influence in the Trump administration. Left-leaning protesters in Kiley's district have demanded an in-person town hall. Placer County Democrat Barbara Smith says she doesn't think it's a partisan issue.
We may have policy differences, but that shouldn't keep us from discussing and finding a way that we can gain consensus and move forward.
In an interview with ABC 10 earlier this month, Kiley has said the size of his district makes tele-town halls the best way to reach the most people.
And people can jump on whether they're up in Plumas County or all the way down in Inyo County.
And though voters like Phil Loring eventually got in, he said the experience left him feeling frustrated.
I think a lot of the frustration, though, comes from this feeling of inaccessibility, of people not feeling like they're being heard.
Luke Clary, ABC 10.
Congressman Kiley's office pointed out that he extended last night's session by about 30 minutes to take additional questions, and they say they plan to hold another virtual town hall soon. And I know so many of you at home have reached out to us about this. Just know we are working to get you information, and we still don't have word yet on whether an in-person town hall is in the works, but we will keep you posted. The California GOP has a new party leader. Over the weekend, Kern Rankin was elected as the new chairperson. It happened at the California GOP Spring Convention right in downtown Sacramento. Also at the convention were candidates that have already thrown their hat in the ring for California governor. We spoke to Kern and some of the governor candidates about why they are running, some of the biggest issues that Californians face, and what the future of the GOP party looks like here in California. That'll be coming up next week at 6:30 on To The Point. And coming up after the break, a step towards peace in Ukraine, the critical call today between President Trump and Vladimir Putin.
You ready for much warmer weather? Because even though we've got one more rain chance tomorrow night, look at this. I've got some 80-degree weather for the start of next week. We'll time it out coming up.
And trouble brewing for beer companies, the impact tariffs are having on breweries' bottom line.
The 25% tariff will be taking an already small margin and basically making it almost nil.
It was a gorgeous day outside. Let's go over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef. It was nice, quiet, calm, quite a contrast to what we saw just the day before.
Yeah, totally different from what we saw yesterday with all the rain and the hail and the thunder and the snow. Yeah, here's the radar for much of the daytime today and some clouds at times. That's about it. No rain or snow out there to be seen. So I think a lot of us, most of us, probably very much enjoyed that quieter day that we've had. Currently 59 in Sacramento, 59 in Elk Grove, 59 Stockton, 60 Manteca, 59 in Modesto, 60 Vacaville and Fairfield, 46 Placerville, 33 in South Lake Tahoe, 37 in Truckee. In the valley, as we go through the next few hours, we'll continue to drop through the 50s, clear until about midnight or so. Then we're going to start to see some clouds building in as we work through the overnight. But it is still going to be a mostly clear night, some patchy fog possible. In fact, it'll be chilly as well. We're going to be starting in those upper 30s Wednesday morning. The average low for the time of year is 47, so we're almost 10 degrees below where we normally would be in the mornings. Tomorrow afternoon's another below average day. We're going to be in those low to mid 60s once again. Average high 68, so still, again, running below where we ought to be for the time of year. But we've also got another system on the way. So increasing clouds as the day goes on, rain chances as well. Here's Futurecast. Again, clouds building in through the morning, then mostly cloudy skies in the afternoon. Rain pushes through the coastal range about 5 o'clock. And then here in the valley, we'll see some rain moving through around sunset. It'll be breezy at times as well, but it's nothing like the storm we just had. And after this storm comes through, we've got sunnier skies and much warmer weather on the way. The average first 80-degree day in Sacramento is March 28th. That's relevant because I've got 2 80-degree days in the forecast to start next week. Monday and Tuesday, the first 80-degree days. Very likely to be the first 80-degree days of the year.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Next, on to the point, the future of the war in Ukraine. The high-stakes phone call today between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, attempting to create peace. Plus, as trade tensions rise between the U.S. and Canada, why the tourism industry is now taking a hit.
Our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app has so much to offer. Get your news live and on demand 24/7 so you can watch the news when you want. There's breaking news, extended forecast, and so much more. We have everything you need to get through your day and ready for the weekend. We've got you covered on money-saving tips, travel, entertainment, and sports. Download the free ABC 10 Plus app on your smart TV and popular streaming devices like Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and more. ABC 10. We stand for you 24/7.
Developing tonight in the Russia-Ukraine war, a critical phone call today between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The White House says both leaders agreed peace will start with a 30-day pause on attacks on energy infrastructure. Perry Russom has the details tonight from Washington.
President Trump says Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed to stop attacking energy infrastructure in Ukraine, with an understanding they will work toward a complete ceasefire. The White House says negotiations on a ceasefire in the Black Sea will start immediately, taking place in the Middle East, as Russia and Ukraine inch toward ending the war. The announcement coming after a critical phone call today between Trump and Putin, the first known peace talks between the two leaders since Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire last week with U.S. negotiators. Ukraine not a part of the phone call today. The White House says Trump and Putin agreed the war started by Russia needs to end with a lasting peace, a sentiment echoed by Ukraine's foreign minister earlier today.
We also do really believe that with the leadership of President Trump, we could achieve long-lasting, just peace.
The White House says Trump and Putin believed an improved relationship between the U.S. and Russia has huge upside, including geopolitical stability and what the White House calls enormous economic deals, but only when peace has been achieved. Before the call, Putin speaking to business leaders in Russia, telling them to prepare for Western companies to return. Putin appearing to be wary of any possible easing of economic sanctions, saying the West will find another way to apply pressure. President Zelensky says if there is a partial ceasefire, he sees that as a positive result, but says a negotiation without Ukraine is not a negotiation at all. Perry Russom, ABC News, Washington.
This is a crucial time not only for the war in Ukraine, but for the relationship between the U.S. and Russia. Russian state media reports the call lasted 2.5 hours. In the Israel-Hamas war, the ceasefire agreement is now falling apart. Israel launched a series of airstrikes across the Gaza Strip, killing hundreds of people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the attacks follow Hamas's repeated refusal to release hostages, as well as its rejection of all the proposals it has received from the U.S. presidential envoy and from the mediators. The first phase of the ceasefire deal, which started back in January, was 6 weeks long, and has since ended negotiations. They have stalled with no agreement on a path forward.
In recent weeks, we see Hamas not engaging in conversations to release hostages. We decided to act upon that, and we decided to carry out preemptive strikes against those threats.
Hamas is pointing the finger at Israel, saying Netanyahu betrayed the ceasefire deal. Meanwhile, nearly 60 hostages are believed to still be held in Gaza, including American-Israeli Adnan Alexander. Turning to your price points tonight, California business owners are expressing concerns about the impact from recent tariffs. 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports went into effect last week. The craft brewing industry heavily relies on these metals for production and packing of products. Brewery owners say increased costs on production could be passed on to the consumer.
We're getting notifications from our suppliers that this tariff could significantly impact their costs of what they could sell it to us, and ultimately, we have to pass that cost on to the consumer. And so the fear is we can only pass so much cost to the consumer before they look elsewhere and find a cheaper alternative.
There are wider concerns about the impact of tariffs on the industry's 9,500 craft breweries nationwide. Working on your home or buying a new one could soon cost more. Prices on building materials are already going up with some of President Trump's tariffs in place, and others are set to kick in. The National Association of Home Builders says the tariffs could add another $9,000 to the new cost of a home. Now to a battle brewing between two neighbors. Trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada now has Canadians changing their plans. As Lionel Moyes reports, it could upend the tourism industry here in the U.S. this summer.
Like a good neighbor, Canada has seemingly always been there for the U.S. tourism industry, but this year is different.
I was planning a trip to LA to see a friend. However, we decided to go to Mexico instead.
A new survey warns 30% of Canadians who had trips to the U.S. planned have now canceled them as tensions rise between the two countries. From the dispute over tariffs triggering boos for the American anthem, President Trump's talk of making Canada the 51st state. Canadians are vowing to make their voices heard.
It's Canada strong. We can stand up for ourselves. We've called out those comments. They're disrespectful.
The Thousand Islands area on the U.S.-Canada border already feeling the strain.
What we've noticed is a lot of our potential visitors, particularly on the Canadian side, they're quite angry. They're quite hurt by what they see as policy and rhetoric that is attacking.
Dollywood and other attractions in Tennessee also bracing.
One of our tour operators told us immediately she lost about 30% of her business trips that she had already booked to the U.S.
Airlines affected too. Canada-based WestJet says bookings to the U.S. have fallen nearly 25%. And it's not just Canadians avoiding travel to the U.S. Analysts say a trade war with Europe and other allies could trigger a drop of nearly 11% in travel spending this year.
President Trump has said the tariffs on Canada and European allies are necessary to restore fairness to global trade and bring jobs back to the U.S. Next, after the break, finally home, two NASA astronauts returned to Earth after unexpectedly long mission in space. We'll have the details after the break.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
A long journey is finally over for two NASA astronauts stuck in space for nearly 9 months. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore splashed down off the Florida coast around 3 this afternoon. We brought you this live on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. The astronauts went on what they thought was a 10-day trip last June, but technical problems sent the Boeing Starliner capsule back. The two stayed at the International Space Station until today's return to Florida. And check this out. While there, Suni made history with 62 hours of spacewalks. I'm sure they are thrilled to be back home. As always, thank you so much for watching and for inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think we should be looking into, make sure to reach out to me and the team. You can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. Remember, strangers are just people we haven't gotten the chance to meet yet, so take the time to get to know someone today. And To the Point does not end here. To watch stories featured on our show, download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app.